All right, so here we are, live at Bucketheads. Today is Sunday, August the 4th. It's pretty loud in here today, so we'll do the best we can. We'll see what happens. My co-host is in Canada right now,
Hey.
but I am joined by Tyler and Ashley. Yay, thank you for joining the podcast. Last minute too, like literally yesterday, not even 24 hours ago. So thank you for jumping in last minute.
Of course.
So you like super excited to be on the podcast? I mean,
Yes
this
and
is
no.
probably like the biggest, most important moment of your entire life. So
We always
just go
swore
get that
that
out
we
of the way.
wouldn't.
Like home runs, catching a ball, winning a championship, that's like second level compared to this. So, okay, not really, but oh, awesome tacos. And I'm probably not going to touch them until, oh well, it happens. All right, I guess I need to get here a little earlier and order my food earlier. So, why don't you like tell us a little about yourself, like when you started playing kickball, how Monday night is the most awesome league ever. That's important
I've
too.
only played in 3 leagues total.
Okay.
But Monday night by far is, I think, the funnest because of the after party that we have, I guess. The social part of it. I've been playing for a year and a half. We looked it up last night. Ryan
That's right,
has the
yeah.
exact date. He can look that
Fall
stuff up.
of 2017.
And then just getting to play more has been fun, and looking forward to kind of playing in the circuits and expanding kind of skills there. That's the next kind of move forward for me.
So, let's see, who do we have on? Ryan, Canute, Will, Anthony, Tom, Brittany. How's the volume? Can you guys hear us all right? Any background noise overpowering it? Yes, no? We'll see. Your turn, Tyler.
This is my, I guess, 1-year anniversary playing kickball. I started last summer with a draft league. Kind of got into it in the spring watching Ashley play. And then played summer and fall on Mondays. And then went up to Hampton, played Saturdays, tried to fine-tune some skills during winter. Came back in spring, and now that's it. Like Ashley said, going to play circuit in DC on the 24th. So that should be fun. A lot more competition, for sure.
There's a lot of competition.
But we're looking forward to it.
Okay. All right, so go ahead and dispel some stuff right now. It is raining outside right now. And people are going to start asking tomorrow. Games are on. Until you hear otherwise, games are on. So just assume that we're playing and show up. All right. So for those that don't know, the carrier pigeon thing came about, was it a year ago? It was about a year ago. And I made some comment, like, as people were posting, like, are we playing today? Are we playing? Are we playing? Are we playing? I'm like, look, if we are not playing, you will get an email. I will post in the Facebook group. I will message your captains, and there'll be a carrier pigeon. Like, it's just as a joke, right? So the next time we had a rain out, I posted that GIF. Carrier pigeon. So it kind of caught on from there. But as of right now, games are on. There is supposed to be some rain tomorrow morning, low percentage. It's supposed to be done by the afternoon, but this is Hampton Road, so you never know. You never know. So we'll jump into some recaps of games from last week.
It was so crowded.
So here we go. Scores from last week. So early games. Bunt Cheeks continued their undefeated season so far. They beat New Kick 6-1. Danger Zone tied Nene's Kids 6-6. Feels like a loss to me. It really does.
You weren't
I mean, we
expecting that,
can
were you?
count it 7-6.
And actually, I think anybody that I've talked to about the game, I'm like, yeah, I didn't expect to lose that game because it did. It felt like a loss. We were I'm calling you out right now, Tom, by the way. We were out captains. That's on you. See if he comments on that. But it was not completely unexpected, though, because on the podcast the prior week, like, my biggest surprise was Nene's kids hadn't won a game yet.
Right.
I'm like, that's not going to last. So they did pick up a win and the tie. So I think they're in fourth right now. We'll see in a little bit. But and you, Tyler, ruined my perfect game. So first week back, finally playing, I went 3 for 4. You got me out.
Yep.
The only time I got out. So, but no, I was glad to be back playing again. It's been a long time, so happy about that.
Well, welcome back for playing.
Yay. And then Kicko mode beat Your Mom's Orgasms 4-1. I don't think that was too much of a shock. I think everybody kind of expected that one. So, thoughts on the early games?
I didn't see much of the other two.
Right, we were playing.
We were playing.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear cheers and whatnot when you're on the field, but Bunt Cheeks, I could kind of assume that they would beat New Kicks on the block. New Kicks is still young; they're still learning. But I think once they get their people in the right spot and know where to go from there, I think they'll be better. The Kicko mode and Your Mom's Scoregasm. To me, I feel like that score's a little closer than probably what it should have been.
Okay.
But good on Your Mom's Scoregasms for keeping it close. I mean, we're right there.
Thank you.
And then our game. Super excited how we played against y'all.
No, you guys played a good game. You played a good game.
I'll tell you, when AJ had that home run, that Ty just missed, like catching it, and we were down by 1, and I came up and I was planning on kicking it, but just the way that it landed, I mean, I wasn't gonna stop.
Actually, who was pitching when you kicked that home run? Was that Tom?
No, Troy was.
No, Troy wasn't there.
Oh.
AJ?
AJ. Yeah, AJ, you're right, AJ.
All right.
Any thoughts from you?
The late games.
I just remember I was on third coaching and I was screaming. I was like, run! And then once you hit third, I was like, it's still out there. Just go slow. But I was really excited to tie it. And it was a great kick by AJ, and it sucked to get a home run kicked on your team. But if anyone's gonna do it, thanks AJ. And then for Tyler to come up and kick one back, I was like, oh, that's how this game's gonna be. But I agree kind of with all the other comments. And I'm excited to play some of the other teams we haven't played yet.
All right. So, late games. Now, this was a game I was waiting for because Bunt Cheeks, they've been kind of rolling through a lot of the newer teams.
Right.
And that was their matchups earlier in the season. So now they're getting into playing the more veteran teams. I was interested in this game. This was like my most. This was a game I wanted to see. If I could have seen any game this week, it would have been this one. Bunt Cheeks versus Kangaroos, because it's a good barometer for one, how much Kangaroos had improved from the beginning of the season, and two, where Bunt Cheeks was. Because they're playing a new team and they got veterans. Sometimes it's hard to tell where they really are. But they came away with a 2-0 win, that's impressive. That was a tight defensive game. Good players on both those teams, so.
Kind of wish we weren't playing so we could have watched it. But.
Also true, but then you guys beat KPMG 4-0.
Right.
And KPMG had been on a little bit of a tear. I think they suffered their first loss last week. They opened the season with like a 17-1 win or something like that.
Right, and there were multiple times that playing them, they had bases loaded, and we had to kind of dig deep to hold them, not let the runs score. And honestly, I thought you guys got runs, and kind of feel like an ass that you didn't. But I had a lot of fun playing against you.
A 4-0 game, that's not like a huge blowout.
Right.
And that's kind of the interesting thing too. So like week 1 scores, they're like all blowouts,
Right.
and then since then they've all been kind of close as captains kind of get a handle on things.
Everyone's figuring out who can play where.
And then the last game of the late games, Danger Zone 9-0 over New Kicks on the Block. Bar game was horrible trivia.
We did not participate. Sorry, we're here.
We're on the other side, but
We get our food quicker over there.
Okay. So horrible trivia was the bar game. It was pretty loud. It was really hard to get that done.
I can imagine.
But yeah, if we continue to have like 60 plus people out here, I'm probably gonna have to scratch that one off the bar games list just because it's. I'm trying to rush it in between like the band and karaoke.
Right, so it's a limited window.
Yeah. But we got through it and muddled through it, I'll say.
I mean, still, again, great bar turnouts, too.
Yes. And the headgear theme was the social theme for the week, too. Let's
Hey!
get in on that. Hey! All right, so scores off. So let's look at where the standings are. So Bunt Cheeks, all alone, number 1 in first place right now. Danger Zone. You know, I'm just going to say we lost the game because it really feels like we lost the game. So technically it was a tie, but yeah, and actually it's probably a good thing. It'd be like a nice wake-up call, like, you know. And that's good sometimes to have that game. Like that really helped my draft team that I was captaining last season. We were coasting through a lot of teams, and then we played Finna, and we lost to them. It wasn't like a super close game, but it wasn't a blowout. But you know, a lot of the players on the team had been kind of, oh, we got this, no big deal. And then that was our main competition, and dropped that game, and a lot were like, "Oh shit!" Kind of pulled together, yeah. And it was good because it was like a couple weeks before the season, so we got to fine tune some things.
Right.
It also showed my team, me, like playing a really good team. What weaknesses did they expose? And it all worked out.
Right. Just
in
gotta
the
play your
playoffs.
game,
Exactly.
stick to your level that you know how to play.
All right, so KPMG actually number 3, but I mean there's a lot of teams at 2 and 2, Kangaroos and Kicko mode. So Mayonnaise Kids at 6, with the win and the tie bringing them up a little bit, and then Scoregasms and New Kicks on the block. So we got some kind of key matchups coming this week that'll
Right, I think
start
this week
breaking
will-
some of these ties.
Right.
Before we get on to that, though, look at the social standings. I have not had the captains judge the headgear photos yet, so that's not a final, but only 1 point will go to the winner for the headgear photos. So the point totals you see there are pretty much where it's at. So Danger Zone at 21, Bunt Cheeks at 18, Mayonnaise Kids at 18, Scoregasm 17, Kicko Mode 16. So pretty close for all those teams that are participating. So, are you guys familiar with the point changes for social this season?
Oh, I feel like you were talking about them, but I didn't pay attention. Sorry.
So,
I paid attention. You can go over them again, Ryan.
so there was some tweaks, and the goal was to keep teams close throughout the whole season. Try to reward people on teams that didn't have really social teams. They could still basically compete with teams that came all out, but there's still some perks to reward, you know, teams that go out every week, their whole team. So we'll see. Normally by halfway through the season, you'd have 3 teams that would be pretty significant gap above the others. So see how it plays out.
Keep coming out.
Exactly. All right, I had some new people. Matt, Bill, and Davin all joined recently.
Welcome to the fun.
All right. Let me check off some of the stuff here. So draft so far, how do you guys think it's played out? What you expected going in? Kind of what you expected? Any major surprises, upsets, things you didn't expect?
The thing that I like about draft is kind of how even the teams are. You don't go in with one team kind of crushing it, or the top 3 teams always still the top 3. Kind of gives that kind of even playing. honestly, I wish we were higher with Nene's kids, but I mean, I'm okay getting a slow start and working our fundamentals, and then we'll come back and kick ass. So I'm okay with that.
I agree. It's nice playing with a lot of even teams. I feel like a lot of the kicking lineups, when you get into it, are the top 5 to 6 are probably your best players, and then you get into the mediocre to average players. Not knocking anybody who's
I mean, people are new, not as experienced.
But
I don't think it's overall like performance because I'm normally to the middle to the end of a kicking lineup, but I know I can kick.
True.
But in the field, I can crush it.
So like I don't know. I think I mentioned this on the podcast before, but for my teams, actually, I build kicking lineup off stats of the players, how they kick during the season.
Right.
I'm like, I track it, like how often they get on base, everything. Like, it's not like super over the top, but no, I track it because sometimes it's really hard. Like, you get in your head like, oh, that person's here and this person's here. But sometimes when you actually stop and look at the numbers, you're like, oh wow, I didn't realize that. And you might have someone deep in your lineup that should be, in your top 4 or 5.
Right. They're always bunting and getting off.
Yeah. All right. So you guys played in the old rules,
We did.
and then now the new rules. So what are your thoughts on the new rules, the kick-away rules, as we like to call them?
You're a charter, so I think
I
it
enjoy
affects
it.
you 10 times
Yeah.
more.
It's interesting because before you could almost guarantee that almost every guy was going to bunt it. Now it's kind of like that guessing game. You got to know who's on base, where they at, what do you expect. I got.
Thank you for being patient.
Luckily, I have Ashley playing behind me, and she. If I'm going for a ball, she'll yell at me not to.
No, that's important.
Because you
Like,
get in,
yeah,
like,
you get in that zone. It's like I want to get that ball. I'm going to throw them out.
Yeah.
Right.
So I got her behind me yelling at me. So it's nothing new, but it's
Right. I think it makes you think a little bit differently, and then for the guys too, like sometimes it's easier to play it and get the out versus just letting it roll. So I think it makes you work well as a team too to listen about who's going to be playing and
there's definitely some extra wrinkles in the strategy.
right. And then for the guys to learn how to kick a little bit harder, bunt harder.
Well, and that was one complaint that was always thrown around like early on when the new rules were announced, like, oh, we're dumbing down the game.
Right.
But the reality is, you can still bunt.
Right.
You just have to do it better. You legitimately have to do it better. And the charger position, skill cap goes up because now there's another thing they have to worry about. It's not just sprint after the ball every single play, assuming it's going to be a bunt. It's, if I touch that, am I still going to get them out? And would that have been just a foul ball if they didn't make it all the way?
And I think too, as like a kicker for a guy, like I think eventually you're gonna get in the mode of like, oh, it's not gonna reach, so I'm not gonna run as hard as I did, and then all of a sudden the charger's gonna play it at last second, and then you're like, oh, I already started turning to go kick again, and so it's a whole new kind of game.
Another one too is there's 10 people in the field now,
Right.
instead of 11 fielders. So your people in the field have to be a little bit better, especially the outfielders. That's a big change in the outfield, going from 4 to 3. Whereas before, like if you had a player who you were concerned about, maybe wasn't as quick, you tucked him in a
kinda
little
tuck him,
spot and
sandwich him
sandwiched
in.
him with those other people. You can't do that anymore.
Right.
Well, you can't.
I like that there's more space.
Yeah.
Well, and I think for us defensively, we start to move people around more. And
Yeah.
like obviously, we try to move people to figure out where they play and where their strengths are. But it's a matter too of like who's up kicking. Do we need to fill a hole?
Yeah, is this a kicker? Are they a
or-
deep kicker? Are they a line drive kicker?
Right. So you almost stagger kind of the outfield a little bit too.
Well, no, I did that. No, and it is important, like, because I was playing right field, but I know a lot of the kickers, and I know a lot of the guys that can't kick really deep. You know, they'll get it like just out of the infield a little bit or
Little
something.
bloopers,
So
right.
constantly, like when Peyton was playing shortstop and I was in left field, I'm like, hey, cover the gap, cover the gap. And sure enough, one time she went up there, someone on your team kicked it literally right to her. She had to move like a foot.
Right.
Caught it, you know. So, no, it's being on top of that stuff. It's much more important now than it used to be when you had 11 fielders.
Right, and I think the more new people we get in, the harder it is to make those calls and figure that stuff out. I mean, obviously, as the season goes on, you start to, you're like, oh, that person always kicked to right, or they always bunted, or, so you kind of play those. But, playing now a couple seasons, like, I can almost, people know I'm probably going to kick versus bunting, or you start to play on
So we had 2 more people join, Mike Walker and Stephen Lewis.
Hey.
So, you guys see the announcement on upcoming discounts for custom shirts through preferred vendors?
Yeah. I think we talked about it on the last podcast as well. Right.
So, you guys excited about that?
Yeah, we have a couple custom shirts and excited to have kind of a different option for it. And they're lighter than the cotton sometimes, which is nice. But
It is true. No, and
I sweat a lot.
And again, a little bit of inside information. There's, I don't know how much I should say here.
say it all.
No, we're even exploring options like. So again, Club Walk, sometimes we do things kind of slow, because, it's a nationwide thing, but we're exploring possible future options like, hey, I've already got 20 Carolina blue shirts. I don't need another one. So we're actually exploring some potential future options there, kind of in tandem with this whole new shirt thing too. So
would that be like a when you register, you can check that you don't need a shirt, so you get
something like
$10 off or something?
I mean, it probably would not be $10, but
right, whatever,
like
off.
5 or whatever.
maybe. Yeah. But again, that's something that's
15.
One of those ideas that
I think he's trying to go like
whenever these new things come up, we always look at stuff, see what we maybe can do to help players out.
Right.
Because the reality is, look, money's a factor for everybody.
Right.
Right. So if you don't need a shirt, especially if your team's getting a custom shirt, or you've already got that shirt color, Waka's not making any money off the shirt that it's sending. Exactly.
Right.
Because, we got to pay the manufacturer, we got to buy the shirt and then pay him to print it and everything else. So we're not making any money off of the shirt.
Right.
That's pretty much at cost, and it's added to your registration. So we don't need to do that. Lowers the cost for players, gets more people in the league, which is good for Waka.
Right.
So again, that's not official. I don't know if I should have mentioned that, but it's one thing it's being explored. So.
I mean, it's an option, right?
Yeah.
You never know if it could turn into something more or not.
All right, so let's see if we have anything in the mailbag. We have 3 mailbag questions.
I can't read that.
All right, question number 1: who is missing their jersey for tomorrow's game?
Is there a money prize involved for answering the right?
Obviously, I don't have the inside information here because I have no idea what they're talking about. Maybe one of our podcast guests can clarify
I think
that.
Talbert's missing pants every week. But
That's true. That's normally after
normal.
the game.
Like, that's
after
normal.
the game, yeah. During karaoke. So yeah, I have no clue about that.
What color is the shirt?
Ooh, that would be more useful. Okay, so it's question mark, exclamation, question mark, and then like a little winking face. So
And we don't know who wrote it in.
This is a game
no,
of
it's
20
anonymous.
Did
questions.
someone steal shirts from our house last night?
I don't know. Did they?
I don't know.
You should check. You should check.
I gotta finish my laundry.
Was there a pre-5-week rule sleepover and someone left a shirt somewhere? Oh, I don't know.
City or Virginia Beach has it.
A nice segue into the next question. Is there a shortened 5-week rule for summer league? Asking for a friend.
I feel like Matt's answer last week, it was like, if it's a 10-week, 5-week, halfway kind of thing.
Well, the theory is you can't do it too soon because then there's a potential for it to blow up before the playoffs happen. So I think, yes, you could potentially have a short 5-week rule for a draft season that's shorter. I mean, if you're having to ask, though, you should probably wait. I'm just saying. You gotta ask. I mean, because seriously, if they're asking, they know about it. They read the article.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
So they're probably like, man, I'm gonna be a
I fucked up.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, for you, no, there was no shortened rule. Whoever asked that question. Will there be a kickball customs check for players returning from Canada? The Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Let's see.
There better be.
Why? Like, what kind of? Were they gonna have a lot of like maple syrup in Canada and give a competitive advantage or something? I don't know.
Maple syrup from Canada's pretty good.
Okay.
It's really good.
No, I don't expect there to be a customs check for people returning from Canada.
I mean, whoever asked it might just want to be patted down.
Oh, yeah, that could be it. Actually, that makes perfect sense. Because you know who's in Canada?
A couple of people.
Mark. Mark is in Canada, so...
He might enjoy it.
You know what, I'm just going to say, Mark, that is your question, and why do you want a customs check? You can answer that question.
He might want the cavity search.
He probably does. It's Mark. That's how he rolls, so... Alright, so
I got a question, Brian.
Okay. Uh-oh.
What if so how feasible would it be for Club Walker or you or Brent for say the summer champion of summer kickball or any league, say you got a patch that said 2019 summer champion and had Club Walker's logo, and you could put it on your shirt or do what you with.
I mean, it's entirely possible. It's doable. It wouldn't be that much different than like wristbands we do for the parties.
Because if you made it more generic, instead of saying summer kickball, if it just said summer, you could distribute it through
Softball, all the other
softball.
It's definitely doable. Okay, so I have one question. Why a patch over something else?
Just so when you win the championship, all you really get is a picture with the trophy.
It's true.
Really, that's your only memento that you take away.
Right. Softball. When we won softball, we did get like a dog tag. But at some point, like, what the hell am I going to do with the dog tag? If I can put a patch on my shirt, it's not lying around my house somewhere. It kind of comes with you a little bit.
At the end of the day, all this stuff really comes down to the social budget.
Right.
I mean, that's really what it is. So, things that get charged against the social budget. And essentially, the social budget it's a lot of the leftover money from players' registration that doesn't go to pay for fields and stuff like that.
Right.
So, it's basically party money.
Right.
And the majority of that money is used in a season party, which is typically why I go for kegs over like just the tickets for like drinks, because kegs last a whole lot longer. It's more bang for the buck.
Right, but maybe it's an option they can explore if they're not going to buy as many shirts. Maybe it's still the same registration price, and it's...
I mean, like I said, I don't use the social budget on too much else, but pretty much every season I try to tap it out.
Right.
So a minor expense every season I spend, say, $12 roughly on spray paint. Spray paint alone. I go to Walmart, I get the spray paint. I normally get a bunch for the...
Right.
I get pretty much literally anybody who goes into Walmart after me trying to buy the cheap white spray paint is probably pissed off, because every time I go in and I buy it, I literally buy every can that's there, and it's normally somewhere between like 12 and 20 cans.
So
the next person who goes in after me, it's like, oh, there's the black, and they're looking because it's on the bottom shelf. No white paint left, because I take it all, every single
The
can.
cashier probably thinks you're like huffing the paint.
Probably. I never thought about that. Like, literally, I go up to the counter, and nothing's in the cart except cans of spray paint, white spray paint.
Surprised you don't get carded.
Yeah, I don't know.
Flagged or something.
But no, and I buy the cheap stuff, so I don't use it. So it's like 96 cents a can. But I mean, that's something I do because
But I think it helps.
it helps minimize a lot of the arguments, like especially the biggest one, bunts down the line is a big one, and then
Strike zone.
the extension of the kicking box and the strike zone. Like those are the big three. Like there's a big controversy always is that ball when the kicker kicks it. Like did it go foul before it went back in the field of play, or did it stay in the extended line? So I think it helps a lot with that. It helps out the referees. I'll say this: since I started spray painting the lines, I've got less people coming up to me post game complaining about a referee. So I think it helps. For me, it's a worthwhile investment.
Right.
Other things I've spent the social budget on, the new trophy was one. Label plates for the winner on the trophy every season. That's cheap. That's like $5 though.
Right.
The trophy was expensive. What was expensive? But that trophy was like almost $300. And I got that in the fall of one season because it was a 1 year we had a ton of rainouts and we had all this field credit. And I had a pretty big surplus budget. And I'm like, this is a perfect opportunity to get a new trophy because the old one was running out of room. It had a cheap, crappy block on it, rusting out on the inside. So got the new trophy.
And people drop them and break them, and then they fix them.
Yeah.
that was the softball one.
Let's see what else. So the stiff hard bases, I used some of the social budget 1 year to convert over to those. So it wasn't too expensive, and I got it over the course of a couple of seasons, but people seem to like them more. They stay in place. People know when their foot's on it. When people stomp on it, you can hear it, so it helps out the refs. Pretty durable. I mean, I've had those for like 2 years now almost. A couple of them are starting to get torn up. I will not use them for sand again. That's when they got wrecked a little bit, was the sand tournament. So I'm not using for sand.
Is there any more update on more sand tournaments or from
Obviously
last
you
week?
didn't
No, you said that you're going to do it
podcast
again.
last week. So
And then you said maybe a league. I didn't know if there was
potentially
more.
a league. So it's still exploring. As with all this stuff, it's you have to have a commissioner for it, have the right setup, get people interested. But we're definitely going to do a charity
Didn't do
tournament.
it. It was a lot of fun. My legs hurt so bad though.
I wanted to
attempting
play
run.
so bad, but broken toe. So
Right.
yeah,
I was sore for like 3 days after.
Oh yeah, if you haven't played on sand, that is a workout. Like you'd be like, do I have a muscle there? Like what is sore?
Yeah.
Like and it's like all the core area, back, you name it.
Highly recommend the sand socks.
All right. How are we doing on time? I've been doing it 30 minutes, roughly half an hour. Pretty good on time. Want to cover any rules?
I don't think so. I think everyone kind of gets them now. So.
Okay. Skip rules. It helps, so normally I pull a rules thing when one of two things happens. One, there's an issue in the league, controversial call, or I'm in the Club Walker Kickball rules group and something comes up in there. The last one that came up in there was kicker kicked the ball. They kind of pooched it up the first baseline and he was running and it hit him. When he was in the field of play, it's actually out.
Right.
Technically, if it hits the runner at all and he's outside of the kicking box, he's out.
Right.
Because the ball isn't established a fair foul ball until it lands in foul territory, for example. So kicker kind of pops it up the line and runs into it. If he's out of the box, he's out.
Right. I feel like that's in a lot of sports that are like that too.
But that was a pretty straightforward one. But someone did ask that question in the rules.
I've thought of this, and I'm thinking it's probably like an obstruction call.
Okay.
Let's say the ball is kicked. You have a runner on first. The ball's kicked to second.
Okay.
The runner's running, and the ball goes to cross in front of him, and he kicks it.
He's out.
He's out, but the ball goes even farther in the outfield. Can the person that initially kick the ball, keep running, or would the play
All
be
right.
dead?
So what should happen then is the referee should call like a dead
Dead
ball.
ball.
Because that's like unsportsmanlike conduct.
Right.
And actually, I had this come up. Eddie, you're getting dimed out right now. So Eddie happened to be the third out. He rounded third. He was going home, and the throw got to the catcher. The catcher caught the ball, tagged him with it, and Eddie swatted it out of their hand. If that had not been the third out, like say that was the second out, I would have called, the kicker out because you could penalize like another player on the field, even though it's not their fault, but the one person that got out. But again, it's a referee judgment call. But that one is I was the last out, so it's like, what are you gonna do? And actually, it happened. It was spring playoffs is when it happened. That was the first game that he played. And then his team was playing, no, it was this season, opening week. I don't remember. It all blurs together after a while. It was late last season, early this season.
I think it was a playoffs in spring.
Playoffs, yeah. And then they were playing. They lost their next game, but again, it was a third out, and he was beaten by the throw to first, and again, he knocked the ball out of the first baseman's hand. Which I mean, it's straight up unsportsmanlike conduct, and again. I was ripping both games, especially the second one. Look, because I'd warned him about it the first one. I would have penalized him, but it was already third out. The inning was done, so I didn't really have an avenue to do anything. But it's a judgment by the referee. Hey, the biggest thing is was it intentional or not? And if something intentional happens to prevent the defense from playing, you penalize the offense. So, and that could be like dead ball, runner can't go past first base, or if you ran to second, go back to first base. If it's really egregious, more than the first time it happened, you penalize it. But again, it's referee's judgment.
Very well.
All right, so let's look at next week. Upcoming. So here we go. 6:30 games. And before we get into this, if for any reason we are rained out tomorrow, it's Will's fault. Will Menzies.
Oh my.
I believe he's watching because he was the first one to ask, well, what if we're rained out tomorrow? So if we are rained out tomorrow, it's Will Menzies' fault, and everyone should blame him. All right, now that we've got that out of the way, Danger Zone is playing Scoregasms. Predictions for that game? I'm going with Danger Zone. I don't bet you guys. But.
I would say Danger Zone as well, but coming off of your tie, or what you like to say is a loss.
A loss, yeah.
Hopefully you're not in your heads too much that you make stupid mistakes, because if you do, I think that they'll take advantage.
We have too many veterans players for that.
Yeah, but veterans can get stuck in their head, and it's a mind game too.
I think the real issue there is I think we'll be super motivated to get back on track. Maybe some of the new players, maybe not, but
I hope so. But I think you gotta.
I would go with Danger Zone.
Looks like we just had Brittany Genova join us. What people are we up to? Okay, our concurrent viewers suck apparently, so we don't have that many viewers. Anyway,
We appreciate the two of you watching.
I think there's more, but
It's 17 of you.
We don't always watch.
Kicking
right away.
Kangaroos versus KPMG.
I'm gonna go with the Kangaroos.
I'll go with, it's going to be close. I feel like KPMG is a tricky team.
Right.
They almost make you play their game. And it's
They do
weird.
to an extent,
It's weird, yeah. But I would go with the Kangaroos slightly over KPMG.
This is an interesting pick for me. My preseason rankings, I had Kangaroos at number 2.
Okay. Yes.
And it kind of let me down a little bit from what I figured they would do, where they'd be at. I'm going to go for a little bit of the upset here, and I'm going to go with KPMG.
Alright.
Right.
All right, late games, Bunt Cheeks and Nene's Kids.
I mean, we're gonna go with Nene's Kids. Well, I'm gonna go with Nene's
I'll
Kids.
go with Nene's.
Okay. I can't speak for you.
I feel like
But
we're
again, I
gonna
think
build
it's
on the
gonna be a
confidence.
close
Well,
game,
and again, this is another game I want to see because, again, I was really hyped wanted to see what happened with Kangaroos and Bunt Cheeks. The Kangaroos has kind of fallen off a little bit, so you guys are coming off a strong game. Kind of want to see what happens here.
I think we gotta stay smart, play our own game, and
Because, I mean, Bunt
Not play
Cheeks
their
could be sneaking their way into,
right.
I mean, they're number one right now. And their competition's ramping up, but they've only got
Practice.
Nene's Kids, Kicko Mode, and Danger Zone left. Which are, there's going to be legitimate games, but...
I think all of those will be
Yeah.
close, right?
Agreed.
Man, you guys have anybody out next week? Or Monday, tomorrow?
Nobody.
Me and Ashley won't be there.
But apparently Kevin pitched last week.
Okay.
Well, we played him in the championship game of spring, and we beat them. So.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I didn't
No.
zoned out there for a minute.
Let's see. You know what? I'll go with a little bit of an upset pick here too. I'll go with Bunt Cheeks.
Cool.
Bunt Cheeks.
So prove you wrong, Ryan.
We've done it
We'll see.
once.
Again, actually, I might ref that game. That way I get to see it.
All right. Make good calls.
Actually, my team isn't assigned a ref, so maybe I will not be reffing that
need
game.
help. You can
Maybe I'll
watch.
just watch it. I'll have to be there anyway. So, and then Kicko Mode and New Kicks on the Block.
I'm gonna go with kick mode only because they have more experienced players.
Yeah, Kicko Mode.
Now, I think New Kicks, I mean, they open against the teams more on their level. So I think what's going to happen with them is they're going to build up throughout the season. And then their first victory, potentially a playoff game.
All right.
Depending on who they play in the playoffs, but you never know.
I have a guy that works for me on that team, and I've been trying to persuade him into thinking the way that,
Giving some tips
you
and
know,
tricks.
tips and tricks, but
Okay.
giving the info to his captains and trying to get them to, do line up a little bit different than what they do and place people in the field a little
Yeah,
different.
and I will say this about New Kicks. They've been open to tweaking and changing some things so far this season. So they've been pretty good about that, that's a good sign when you see the captains doing that. Like, hey, we're not just going to stick with the same thing. We're going to think about it, analyze it, make a couple changes.
Right.
But and I'll say this from just watching them and reffing some of their games. It's hard for a team to see the progress in themselves,
Right.
but from day one when they stepped on the field, they are a better team now. So
Yeah, they have.
I think overall
We
everyone.
reffed that. Yeah, we reffed their first game and they were all over the place. Nothing against New Kicks, but they were.
well, I mean, if you had a bunch of people that haven't played before and you come in,
Right.
it's like, what
not
the
your-
hell do I do?
Right.
It's not your grade school kickball like you thought it was.
So bar games, or bar game I should say, is beer pong. So the matchups, since we're back to non-3 games at once, the matchups will be the exact teams you play. So that'll be your beer pong opponent, at least for the opening round. So hopefully some of the early games that get here can knock some of those out and get started.
Is that how the bracket's gonna go? Bunt Cheeks and Nene's
Yeah,
and
so,
Kicko. And
right. So Danger Zone versus Scoregasms,
And the winner of that.
KPMG, yep. And then, unless they're teams that don't show up, if your opponent doesn't show up, you gotta buy, figure it out. Perspective photo is the social challenge for the week.
What is it?
Perspective photo.
Sorry. It's loud.
I'm gonna have to Google that one.
It's those photos where like people hold something in their hand that's really far
yeah.
away.
It's like the
Yeah.
video. we
I saw an
watched.
awesome video about it.
Oh, okay. There
Guys.
you go.
We just watched
Very
it.
good. He's very good.
All right, so let's Let's check the official forecast here right now.
It's probably going to change 100 times before
That's true. This is Hampton Road, so
before
like
7 o'clock.
it'll be drastically different at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. So let's look at tomorrow. Thunderstorms, 50% chance roughly until a little afternoon, until almost 3 p.m. So that'll be a big factor is how much water dumps down during the morning. Temperature though, game time is right at 80 degrees. Of course it's going to be humid.
Yeah, especially if it rains.
But in the evening it's clear, so as long as the fields don't get completely trashed in the morning with water, we should be good to go. But if for any reason we're canceled, it's Will's fault. Alright. Winner predictions on games, and of course our sponsor Bucketheads. I don't know if I announced our new special. Maybe, I'm sure I did at some point. But in addition to our half-off burger and $5 pitcher, we also have $1 beef, $2 chicken tacos on Monday nights now too. Let's see. There's another price change deadline coming up for fall season. So people need to get signed up for fall.
We're signed up, so we're gonna each get a pitcher of beer with the $5.
So you guys are joining my team, right?
We're signed up.
Oh!
I will not make an official announcement on
On
this
air?
one.
On air? Man.
Maybe we'll play on different teams.
Really though?
I mean, it is.
That'll hurt Ashley's feelings if you do that.
I'll charge against you, or I'll play outfield and catch your ball. All right, that's not
All right, so let
Sorry.
me pop everything off. All right. Anything else you want to talk about? Oh, yes I do.
Uh-oh.
Photo time.
Oh,
Here we
yeah.
go. We'll go through some of the photos. Headgear photo for Danger Zone. Headgear photo for Kicko Mode. There you go. Kangaroos headgear photo. Kangaroo, that's pretty legit, the kangaroo mask head thing.
That's good. Oh my.
It's a bar photo for Danger Zone.
Maybe she feels like she didn't get
Alright, so here we've got bunt sheets. Using cones for headgear, that's a little creative.
Aw, Daddy, I'm
Some awkward incest going on. But that's Talbert, so.
Terrible hats.
Nope, there's your team.
Like everyone has something on their head.
I think me and Will got the wrong colored shirts on.
It's headgear, not like sweat your shirt day.
Danger Zone again.
Ladies representing.
Scoregasms in portrait mode.
No. It's kind of creepy.
It is a little bit.
Yeah. It's good. It's like head face gear, but.
Almost through the photos. I think we have a couple more left. No, there's another Danger Zone photo. I don't even know what the hula hoop thing was. I have no idea.
It's your team.
But I think it was Dewey's fault, though. And I think it's going to roll over here. Let's see. Nope, there we go. That's all the photos. Oh man, I didn't make an outro. I was supposed to make like an outro thing. Ending credit scene thing. Maybe next week, we'll see.
Brought to you by Ryan Keel.
Yeah,
Edited by Ryan Keel.
Production, Ryan Keel. Post-production, Ryan Keel. I wonder how many things I could come up with a list on there. Just roll really, really slow. I don't know. Actually, like, I'm partially motivated to do that now. All right. Everybody have a good night. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye,
and see everybody tomorrow.
Bye.